Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this episode we are going to do a repair on an LXP-15 digital reverb from Lexicon, and let's go ahead and get into it. Problem with this guy, I just picked this up the other day, was everything looked pretty good on it except when I go over to the page knob, which is a digital encoder, which should click into each one of these positions where you see a line going to some text. It's just spinning freely. Oh no, something is wrong. So we got to get into there and figure out what's wrong. This is not the first time I've come across this kind of an issue with these encoders. A lot of these, while they have a really interesting design, they're really well laid out, well thought out, and molded plastic, everything looks really good on them. They just have some fundamental weaknesses. And so what happened was this back plane, this PCB, pops out because these little tabs, which hold it in place, over time, all this pushing and people pushing it on the knob, that ends up wearing those little tabs out. This is what it should look like, and if I hold that on there, you'll see it turns great. It's working as it should. But to really fix this and make it last, we have to go and take an extra step here. And that extra step is to hold this better against the PCB against the chassis. I've been kind of looking at this thing and scratching my head and thinking, you know, what's the best way to do that? We have some options, but the one that I'm leaning towards right now is to try to put a screw through the black frame. I'm going to actually cut this down flush, this black tab. I'm going to cut that down flush with the PCB, and then I'm going to drill a hole through this side. Probably actually I'll start on this side because it has to be more precise, over to here, and then I'm going to drop a screw through there over to here and then screw a nut down, and that will hold it in place. And then I'll do the same over here. This gets a little wild country over here. You got to be careful because you've got PCB traces on the back side there. I don't really have a great collection of tiny screws. This is a M2 screw. I don't think I have any M1s, but I do have M2s with nuts on it. And I think this guy, I mean, it's really just pushing, it's pushing kind of the edge of where I'm comfortable drilling a hole, but you can see it, the diameter across there. I think it'll be okay. The problem is up on the top here. The head of that screw doesn't really have room. It's gonna hit on here once I'm pushing it through. So I'm probably gonna have to use a drill bit or a Dremel and route out a little channel, and that'll drop down, stick out through. This will be flush with the PCB, and then I'll put on one of these little tiny nuts right here on the back side, and that's going to hold it beautifully. Let's go ahead and see what the size of the head is. We need to get the right drill bits to do the project, so I ate this pretty close. If I screw part, we're looking at 1.9 millimeters, just under 2. And then I found this one that looks to be about right. Yeah. This thing is huge, so it's not really intended to work on micro electronics, but it's Makita, and my dad gave me this like 10 years ago, and I've done about 1 million projects with it, and I love it, and it builds up my forearm muscles, so you know, I think it's worth it. We need to level out the tab, so that'll be job one. So I'm gonna grab these snippers here and make sure that's PCB's flush, and then coming in at an angle here because my initial hole is too close to the outside corner of the black plastic, so I have to kind of tunnel my way into where I want to be. It pays to go slow when you're starting out with these. Well, anytime you drill, really. So this surface here is flush up against the back of the faceplate on the device, and this notch basically holds the encoder from twisting or rotating around, keeps it in the same position. So that head has to be below that surface. It can't be above it. See, the problem here, why I don't want to do it this way, is because that head is just, it's pushing against right here, which is causing the screw to go in at a weird angle. And, you know, would it work? Yeah, probably. But it's putting a lot of pressure on the outside again of this plastic. And if I tighten that nut down when I get to that point and suck that head down against the black plastic, that's going to end up probably cracking that and pushing it out. My goal is to just basically rest this bit against the chassis. Let me zoom in a little bit. So now I'm going to go back while I've got it basically taken apart, and I'm going to do the other side here. All right, that one went really smoothly. Look at that. Pretty perpendicular. It's off by a degree, maybe two. I think we're good. I think that's good to go. So next we'll reinstall it, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. Just remember, there's a little notch, a little knob that sticks out on the encoder, and that there's actually a hole in the back of the faceplate here. Right here, you can kind of see the outline of it right there. And that's where that little knob is going to go into that. And that locks it from twisting left and right. So that adds a level of stability when these things are being used, which is, you know, really, really good to have. Okay, so we've got that in place, and now we're going to put the nut on. The nut is it's a 1/2 inch. This is pretty standard for a lot of audio knobs. There's usually just a couple sizes used, and the 1/2 inch is very common. It's worth just grabbing a little ratchet bit to tighten that down with. Just finger tighten that. You don't want to go too hard. I mean, you don't want it to be loose, but at the same time, again, this thing is all plastic, so you have to be careful. You don't want to strip that, because if you strip it, you are in trouble. All right, so that's on, and now the next thing we're going to do is put on, let me get some light back over here. Now we're going to put the knob on, and what we have to do now is we actually have to turn it on, because the knob has to be aligned with the page that it's on. Get it over. One of the pages here is called algorithm, and so I'm going to find the algorithm one, because I know that the screw holes on the knob line up to where I can actually get to it while, there it is. So that's algorithm. You can see here. Try to focus that a little better. Okay, and so what I need to do is if you look over here, the page is labeled algorithm here. So what I need to do is make sure that the white line on the knob is lined up to algorithm. And then, while that's in place, I can tighten down the first of the 2 screws. Get that pretty tight. And then when that's tight enough to hold it in place, that's lined up perfectly, I'm going to rotate it around, and then it gets you to directly opposite is the other screw. The little inset, see, it's a little inset screw. So it uses a little T5, I think, little Torx head bit right there. And then that one's in place. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope this was useful. And if you'd like to see anything about Lexicon units, I do a lot of work on these, and a lot of repair. I get into the circuits. I've learned a lot about all of these devices. I've actually got an old 224X right now that I'm repairing. So if you've got any requests on Lexicon reverbs that you'd like to see a video on, just send me a note and I'll see what I can do. Thanks again, and see you next time.